Hello. I came across an absolutely amazing piece of Russian filmic history here. This was not cooked up by somebody in somebody's basement. It is actually something that was put out on mainstream Russian television. It's the piece of film that passeth understanding. Here we are.
Бориса Джонсона об ответном ударе по России. Вообще на Британских островах, похоже, заговаривается. Зачем грозить ядерным оружием?
Vast Russia, when they are only a small island. I'll get to that.
Столь мал, что лишь одной ракеты «Сармат» достаточно, чтобы его утопить раз и навсегда.
They're really great graphics, aren't they? Very professional.
Борис, а Англии нет. Раз и навсегда. Зачем заигрываться? Другой вариант – погрузить Британию в морскую пучину.
Drive the English into the sea. Notice how he says England, by the way.
На километровой глубине со скоростью 200 км в час. Нет никакого способа остановить этот подводный дрон. Боеголовка на нем мощностью до 100 мегатонн. Взрыв этой термоядерной торпеды у берегов Британии поднимет гигантскую волну, цунами высотой до 500 метров. Такой водяной шквал является еще и носителем экстремальных доз радиации. Пройдя над Британскими островами, он превратит то, что от них, может быть, еще и останется, в радиоактивную пустыню, надолго непригодную.
Now, I'll go through that again, and we'll just have a look at what he's saying, should we? First of all, what will happen after Boris Johnson's words about a retaliatory strike on Russia? Well, if Russia strikes first, he's at least he's honest enough to admit that we're talking here about Britain retaliating rather than attacking. So you've got to give them credit for that. What's the next bit? In general, in Britain, they seem to be rambling. Well, yeah, to the madman, a sense does look like rambling, doesn't it? Why do they threaten vast Russia with nuclear weapons? If Russia is threatening everyone else with nuclear weapons, then it is not a threat to say you're going to retaliate in kind, is it? But vast Russia, I want to point something out. Russia is huge, but most of it is in one tiny little place. Maybe I'll find a map. Most of Russia is that bit around Moscow. The rest is practically deserted hinterland, and it wouldn't take much to threaten Russia, because if you hit that bit around Moscow, that's really Russia. Let's carry on. Why do they... when they are only a small island. This small island has a GDP at least 6 ranks higher than vast Russia. Let's see. I have some statistics here, which I've lost. I always do. But yeah, Britain has 66 million inhabitants officially. Russia has, I don't have the statistics here, something like 135 million, and most of them are concentrated in a very small area. I don't think you can talk about Britain being a small island and threatening vast Russia. Unless you like living in Siberia, of course. And what is this about only a small island? Britain's power extends round the world. It's got far more pull than you, whoever you are. The island is so small that one Sarmat missile is enough to sink it once and for all. I do like the graphics there, but I doubt that one missile would sink it. A single launch, Boris, and there's no England anymore. One and for all. I think he means once and for all. Why do they play games? No. The British aren't playing games. I want to tell you something. As I mentioned in one of my one of my tweets, I had a conversation with a Russian in exile who lives in New York. He asked me, how do the ordinary British people feel about what's going on in Ukraine? Well, I can only speak for myself and the people who surround me, and they tend to be, generally speaking, of a like mind. But even the occasional ones who disagree with me politically accept the fact that we have to help the Ukrainians. Now, I know from what comes up underneath my videos that there are people who say, it's all a plot and the Russians are in the right and all the rest of it. In general, I am not sure that they're British. I think if they're not bots, they're more likely to be American. But I can't be certain of that. What I can be certain about is this. The British, constitutionally, do not like a bully. Bullying is really something that the British are not that happy about at all and get very exercised about it. And I want to point something else out. During World War II, you television man, whoever you are, the British Merchant Navy was plying the routes of the Arctic route to get supplies to Russia. Now, the British are not really Arctic sailors. I mean, the British Empire, which was quite extensive at the time, it was all warm water stuff. And the merchant marines were probably not accustomed to sailing their boats through a lot of ice, not most of the time. And they went out there and they, I do wish I had the statistics. The British merchant marines lost a lot of people in that campaign. The Americans were there as well. It's not just the British, not the English, the British. There were Scots and Welsh as well as Irish. And of course, there were American ships as well, mostly riding shotgun rather than bringing supplies. And of course, the Royal Navy was riding shotgun as well. And British lives were lost bringing Russians much needed supplies for their war effort and also food. So what you're saying here is colossally ungrateful. But then, yeah, ingratitude seems to be a stamp of your present regime, doesn't it? So where are we now on my notes? Yeah, let's carry on with this. So, oh yeah, he wants to plunge Britain into the depths of what? Depths of the sea, using an underwater vehicle called Poseidon. Look, this is a small problem here. You will not only be sinking England, but Scotland, Wales, and Ireland as well. And South Ireland is a separate country. They might have something to say about that. And if you caused a tsunami that was so big that it would swamp the mountains, I mean, they're not the biggest in the world, but they are pretty substantial, Snowdonia and the Grampians, then that is going to carry on to France and Norway and Denmark, as probably drown Holland as well. I think these countries might have something to say about that. What do you reckon? Okay, let's carry on. So he's going to swamp England. It approaches its target at a speed of 200 kilometres an hour, and there's no way to stop it. It's the explosion of this torpedo. Now look at these graphics again. Just watch this. All of the British Isles, but just the British Isles. He's not mentioning, as I say, France, Holland, Norway, Sweden, or Denmark, all the other places. And it'll turn what's left of Britain into a nuclear wasteland. Oh yeah, one of your weapons is going to do that. Do you know what it reminded me of? As soon as I saw this rambling, hysterical piece of of fantastical boastfulness. It reminded me of a quote from King Lear when the two nasty daughters, Goneril and Regan, were, or is it Reagan? No, it's Regan, yeah, of course. Goneril and Regan, when they were being nasty to him and he was going mad, but he had no power to retaliate. He said this: "I will have such revenges upon you both that all the world shall... I will do such things, what they are, yet I know not, but they shall be the terrors of the earth." That's exactly what that little clip of film told me. So let's just go over this again. Putin isn't the first despot that's wished Britain would just go away. Napoleon wanted that. Philip II of Spain wanted that. He lost a third of his fleet trying to invade England. Napoleon didn't do too well, and Hitler, of course, well, that went well, didn't it? So it's not something I'm sitting here particularly worried about. I also want to remind Russia, of course, that we do have a nuclear deterrent of our own. And at this very moment, there will be British nuclear submarines prowling the seas around Europe. And I believe they have instructions. They get instructions every day. If they don't get the instructions, they're supposed to switch their radio on and listen out for the Today programme, which is a BBC morning news show. And if they don't hear the Today programme, they're supposed to go, as a British Defence Secretary said in talking about Russia, they're supposed to go full Tonto. Now, I just want to tell you about this. Apparently on February the 22nd, which is 2 days before the Russians made their incursion into Ukraine, Ben Wallace was talking to some military people and he knew probably what was going on by then. You know, there would have been a lot of intel by that time. And he suggested, sort of obliquely apparently, that Putin had lost his mind, while also comparing the Russian leader to Tsar Nicholas I. Oh yeah, that's another one who wished Britain would go away, who struggled for allies during the Crimean War in the mid-19th century. There was a good quote from somebody. This was about the Crimean War, and it was the Gallipoli campaign, and some Turkish general said to a Russian general said to a Turkish general, I'm not entirely sure who said it to whom, but he said, "Oh, we've succeeded in driving the English into the sea," and the other one said, "You fool, that's their element." All right, we've got a busy adversary now in Putin, said Ben Wallace, who has gone full Tonto. I want to tell you that Tonto is not just the name of the Lone Ranger's sidekick. Tonto was an Apache word for a wild man. The Western Apaches were supposed to be completely nuts, and the other Apaches called them Tonto. So Ben Wallace said that Putin had gone full Tonto. I'll have to remember that. Tsar Nicholas made the same mistake Putin did. He had no friends, no alliances. The Scots Guards kicked the backside of Tsar Nicholas I in 1853 in Crimea. We can always do it again. Wallace, who served in that same regiment, was overheard saying. All right, well, so here we have, I wouldn't call it so much full Tonto as full King Lear, making no sense. Mad, mad, let me not go mad, is what he said. And finally, a fool said, now just a minute, what did the fool said? You are like an O with nothing in you. Hang on, I'm going to look that one up. I'll cut this here. Got it. The fool says to the king, you are like an O without a figure. The zero. You're like a zero without the figure, just the hole in the zero, even less than zero. Yeah, and unfortunately that's what's become of Putin. And because in the case of Putin, he is the Russian state, that's the Russian state as well. I used to have a lot of respect for Russia, actually. It's a shame, but especially when I hear what the Russian soldiers are doing in Ukraine, that's a bit more than a shame. All right, well, I am Graniopteryx, waiting for the nuclear missile to appear overhead and swamp us in a tsunami of Russian propaganda, probably. I'm Graniopteryx. I am on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. When I upload a video, I do so as @Graniopteryx on Twitter, Gab and Parler. Please like this video, share it, make sure your subscription is still working, and support this channel in any way you can. Until next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.